Good evening, everyone. Now we will call the special called meeting and millage rate hearing number 3 for August 12, 2024 to order. Mr. Gaither, will you please call the roll?
Representing Educational District 1, Ms. Katie Howard.
Present.
Representing Educational District 2, Ms. Loretta Balden. Representing Educational District 3, Dr. Ken Zeff.
Present.
Representing Educational District 4 and Board Vice Chair, Ms. Jennifer McDonald, and she is joining us virtually. Representing Educational District 5 and Board Chair, Ms. Erica Mitchell.
Present.
Representing Educational District 6, Ms. Ishay Collins. Representing Educational District at Large Seat 7, Mr. Alfred Shivy Brooks. Representing Educational District at Large Seat 8, Ms. Cynthia Briscoe Brown.
Present.
Representing Educational District at Large Seat 9, Ms. Jessica Johnson.
Present.
I also want to acknowledge our Superintendent, Dr. Johnson, as well as our General Counsel. And with that being said, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Now I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda of August 12, 2024 special called meeting and millage rate hearing number 3.
So moved.
Moved by Board Member Briscoe Brown. Second by Board Member Dr. Zeff. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We will now engage in our last of 3 hearings. Dr. Lisa Bracken, are you ready? I'm sorry. We are ready for your presentation.
All right, great, thank you. So good evening, Board Chair Mitchell, members of the board, Dr. Johnson. As you mentioned, tonight is the final of 3 public hearings to set the FY 2025 millage rate. We are recommending to maintain the millage rate at 20.5 mils. I think this is an older presentation. We had some updates since this morning, but so the millage rate has been set at 20.5 for the last 2 years, and that's actually the lowest millage rate in the past 10 years, at least the last decade. However, because that rate is being applied to properties that have increased in value, by law, we must advertise it as a tax increase. The increased value of the digest due to reassessments is approximately 4.22%. Overall, the digest increased a little over 7%, and that is in alignment with our optimistic revenue projections for the fiscal year. APS is heavily reliant on property taxes to fund many of our initiatives above and beyond the state, including our Readers Are Leaders initiatives, and a steady and sustainable local tax digest helps ensure that we can continue to give competitive compensation to our teachers. That includes the 11% increase we were able to provide in this budget. By maintaining a millage rate of 20.5 mils, a property valued at $325,000 with a homestead exemption will experience an increase of about $66 annually. That concludes my presentation. As my presentation's coming up, I can take any questions that you have at this time.
Okay, well, thank you, Dr. Bracken. Mr. Gaither, please read the instructions for the hearing.
Good evening and welcome to the public comment portion of this of the agenda. In just a few moments, the board will begin hearing from those who signed up to speak by 5:50 p.m. The board welcomes your comments, but before we get started, please take note of the following guidelines on how public comment is conducted. The board has allocated 1 hour for public comment, and each speaker will only be allowed to speak once for a total of 2 minutes. The board may elect to hear community comments in any order or sequence and is not limited by the order of the sign-up sheets. All speakers presenting highly detailed information are asked to put their comments in writing, and comment cards are available for those wishing to do so. In order to maintain meeting decorum, follow appropriate protocols, protect the confidentiality of students, and ensure impartiality, the board will not hear comments on matters involving individual students, parents, or the character, professional competency, or the physical or mental health of any individual. Also, the board will not hear public comment on personnel matters that specifically include the names or titles of employees. This includes, but is not limited to, contract non-renewals, position abolishment, the hiring or firing of staff, and investigative proceedings regarding allegations of misconduct. Comments regarding personnel issues should be sent in writing to Atlanta Board of Education, 130 Trinity Avenue, Southwest, Atlanta, Georgia 30303, or via email at boardcomments@atlantapublicschools.us. Finally, in order to maintain meeting decorum and to ensure all comments can be heard by the board, applause, cheering, jeering, or speech that defames individuals or disrupts the meeting should be refrained from and may be cause for removal, adjournment of the meeting, and or suspension from attending future Atlanta Board of Education events, hearings, meetings, and other proceedings. With that said, I would like to call our first speaker for 2 minutes, Mr. Nathaniel Dyer.
I want to go on record to say that, hey, this was a circus. It took you about close to 30 minutes to get this thing going, but it's so important for you to raise taxes on the citizens in Atlanta, and especially our seniors. We had Ms. Iris Parks, who came here earlier this morning and poured her heart out. And, you know, you all are supposed to be policymakers. So to say that, oh, it's the law, you're part of that faction that can change things. You know, there are good laws, and then there's some laws that just don't work. But when you want to move forward, and I feel like it's going to be a vote thumbs up because you evidently don't know your community. When you see a house like this and it's not packed about a significant issue like this, it should tell you, hey, the word didn't get out properly. But you want to fast track things. To have 2 meetings in one day, one at 10 a.m. and then one at 6 p.m., is ridiculous. And then you're going to vote. Then we had to sit here and wait and get only 2 minutes. That's the way you want to engage people over situations. You know, Fulton Assessor says that a senior 65 years old, it says claimant and spouse cannot make more than $25,000 a year. That's 2 people. You divide that by 12, that's $2,000 per month. Groceries, utilities, medicine, transportation, poverty. But $66, you know, to $300, who's worried about that? They can survive, surely. But you see, that's how distant and how disconnected you are from the community. A lot of these grandparents have children going to school because maybe their parents couldn't take care of it. But you're gonna move forward because it's the law. Property values are moving up, but people are suffering. I will make sure that this is recorded and make sure that, hey, the world knows what is going on here. It's highly unacceptable. $300 million for your charter and partner schools, but you need a tax increase. Do the right thing for the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Sosena Desta for 2 minutes, followed by Myrna Clayton for 2 minutes.
Good evening. Bear with me. This is my first time attending a meeting like this and speaking, so I felt moved to come today. I'm here with my mom. She's a retired person on a fixed income. The value of her property went up almost 27% on this last tax bill. Mine and my husband's has gone up 35%. Those are huge jumps from one year to another. It's very, very hard to plan for that when you don't know that that's happening. I understand that you all are not voting to increase the millage rate, but you're, deciding to voting to keep it as it is, which means because our property values are higher now, we're paying more money. And this is already the highest millage on, it's the highest millage line item on our property tax bill. So I'm curious as to why you all decided to keep it the same and not at least make an adjustment. If not do the full rollback, at least do some sort of an adjustment. Everyone's struggling right now. Like, everything's more expensive. Food's more expensive. Everything's more expensive. I'm sure you all know that. You all live here as well. And I think this will probably affect some, if not all of you as well. So for whatever it's worth, I felt compelled to come here today and to have my voice heard on my own behalf, on my mom's behalf, on my community's behalf. I understand that this millage rate has been what it is for, I think you said 10 years, but property values have not been what they are for 10 years. I live in Capitol View in Southwest Atlanta, and they have skyrocketed. And so we need some kind of help. People are having a hard time. I'm sure you all know that. You watch the news. And so I just wanted to share that with you for whatever it's. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Myrna Clayton for 2 minutes, followed by Andrew Sealer.
Good afternoon. Yes, my name is Myrna Clayton. I'm from Collier Heights, which is Douglas County cluster. I'm coming because my mother is a senior citizen. She's 90 years old, and I want to express that there's some erroneous information in terms of the millage rate being the same, but my concern is twofold. One, the millage rate attached to the property rate. There should be a lower millage rate attached to senior citizens, and also there's a different assessed amount for the bond versus the Fulton County School, the Atlanta Public Schools. It's a higher rate for Atlanta Public Schools when you look at it. And so when I look at from 2017 to 2022, there was no millage rate attached to senior citizens, zero, from 2017 to 2019. In 2020, it increased to an amount some kind of way, but our property value was not as high, and so my mom was not having to pay as much. We're now paying over $2,000 in property tax for a 90-year-old senior citizen who paid taxes. We've been in our house for over 50 years, and so who's paid taxes while I was in school, while my brother was in school, while my daughter was in school. She didn't have any children or grandchildren or great-grandchildren in school, and so they should not be paying a property tax for Atlanta Public Schools. They're not charged taxes for Fulton County. And so I don't understand why Atlanta Public Schools is asking senior citizens to pay a property tax. And if it's attached to the value of the property, then why that a particular assessed amount when the bond, the Atlanta bond, has a lower assessed amount? And so I don't really understand all of that. And so I don't know how much you guys look at this, right? This to the details of this, but it certainly should not be, one, the millage rate that it is. It should be maybe a different millage rate for senior citizens over 65, or senior citizens, period, but certainly those who are over 65, and to understand what happened between 2019 and 2020 other than the pandemic for seniors to all of a sudden be assessed an amount where before they were paying zero millage rate for Atlanta Public Schools. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Andrew Kyler. My apologies.
I won't take very much time because I'm just here to just say I'm not for it because I don't understand it. So I actually tried to pull some information to find out what you guys were going to, what you needed the money for. And one of the things that I read was that it's the teacher retention. You're trying to raise the salaries for first-time teachers to attract them. But then I also read that you currently have a student teacher ratio of about 15 to 1. Is that incorrect? You guys can't answer. But it seems like the thing would be maybe if you could have more students in the classroom, you could have fewer teachers making more money. So, but how you guys get to whatever you get to is your business. I just know that my taxes in terms of or the assessment and the property value of my house is going to shoot up over 40% for the coming year. And all I look at that I'm being taxed out of my home. I've seen neighbors on my street literally who have for sale signs in their house, not because they don't want to live in their house anymore, it's because they're being taxed out of their homes. And I moved specifically to Summerhill back in 2005 because it was a neighborhood that I liked. It was a house that I could afford, and now I'm literally on the edge of not being able to afford the house that I built. So that's all I have to say. And so if you guys could, I guess, what's the word, be more aware of what your actions are doing to the actual people who are paying the taxes, I would be very appreciative of it. Thank you.
Madam Chair, this concludes public comment.
Thank you, Mr. Gaither. And now we will move to discussion and action for the following items to be discussed. A resolution requesting a tax levy for FY 2025 general fund budget. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution, which includes a maintenance and operation levy of 20.500 mils and a debt service levy of 0 mils for FY 2025 for a total levy of 20.500 mils, which is the same millage rate as FY 2024.
So moved.
Moved by Board Member Briscoe Brown.
Second.
Second by Board Member Dr. Zeff. Discussion, any discussion? I'm hearing none.
Wait a minute.
Sorry, I would just ask that we reiterate the resources that are available for seniors and for families, and making sure people are aware of like the homestead exemption information as well as the same as we did this morning. And I don't know if it's appropriate to talk about kind of how APS has been grandfathered into the millage rate that we have now, just for education of the community.
Okay.
Yes, good evening. So since our meeting this morning, I've been working with our comms team and our engagement team, as we promised, to try to put together some materials around this. So this isn't fully baked, but so far we've started gathering. There are different ways that we can approach it from the property tax relief initiative. So that would be things like the exemptions that are coming up. There's also an anti-displacement tax relief fund that's in partnership with the City of Atlanta and Invest Atlanta, and also a legacy resident retention program through the Beltline. And so there's opportunities like that depending on where you're located that you can leverage. There's other discounts that we're going to make available. We're working with partners to pull together other people who are working on tax relief or other types of offsetting burdens or cost burdens for seniors in particular. And so we'll be putting those together. That could include like the MARTA Reduced Fare Program, Georgia Senior Mobility Program, and other savings and resources like AARP discounts and additional resources. So we're putting together this packet that we'll try to get out and available. And again, as we're moving into the November elections, we'll have more information coming out on the exemptions that'll be on the ballot at that time.
Thank you, Dr. Bracken. And how can people who do not have children in the district receive this information, especially on the different opportunities for tax exemptions and
Yes.
resources?
So I'll be working with our teams to think about how we can advertise this more broadly.
Okay. Oh, go ahead, Katie. Board Member Howard.
Okay, thank you. Just want to reiterate that we've absolutely received the feedback and hear it from a cross-section of people in the city. Appreciate you sharing those resources, and there's a lot of opportunity for more partnership and for us to talk about how we're using our funding to best serve students and where we have opportunities to even shift as a system. So I really appreciate the feedback we received tonight and know that it is received on a continual basis by all of us, and it's heard, and we're very aware and sensitive to it.
Yeah, and I'll extend that, the teams are researching. We've reached out to our other, the alliances that we're part of, like the GFOA, the Government Finance Officers Association, to try to see other taxation methods to the point that, we can use the legislative process to talk about different ways that school districts are funded. This is just the system we're working in now. To even explore, like, is there a precedent for a municipality or a school district to have multiple millage rates, one for commercial, one for residents? Like, I think there's an opportunity for us to explore that. I don't believe there's any precedent in Georgia for that, but we're doing our due diligence to try to explore all the different methodologies that are out there so that we can try to get ahead of this going forward.
Well, I'll go back. It has properly been moved by, thank you, Dr. Bracken. It was properly moved by Board Member Briscoe Brown and seconded by Board Member Dr. Zeff. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? I'm sorry. All in favor, say aye. We got to record a voice vote.
Aye.
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 Vote passes unanimously.
Okay. Motion carries. Thank you, and now I will entertain the motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Moved by Board Member Briscoe Brown,
Second.
second by Board Member Jessica Johnson. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Meeting adjourned.